Hello again everyone and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. What's the most terrifying thing that's happened to you while home alone? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I was babysitting a kid who had a video monitor and was told that she wouldn't wake up while the parents were out and that if she did to call them right away. I was watching TV with the monitor set off to the side to keep an eye on her, and right around 11, the camera's view shifted a few inches. It then began to slightly jiggle, like someone was messing with it. I was squinting at it, trying to decide what I was actually seeing, and I kid you not, the whole screen burst to static for a few seconds, and the kid started wailing. She stood up and was screaming in her crib, just like one of the kids from The Sims. When she didn't fall back asleep after a few minutes, I called Mom and said, "Okay, we were on our way home anyway. We think she has nightmares. Sometimes it's fine. Never again." A couple of years ago, I woke up at 3 a.m. to see someone walk past my bedroom door. I called out in my just woken up state, not thinking that maybe my boyfriend had come over while I was sleeping, but got no response, so I knew it wasn't him. I got out of bed, stupidly forgetting to take my phone or any kind of defensive item with me, and went into the front room where the light was on to be met with a random guy staring at one of the walls. I asked him who he was and got no answer. At this point, I'd actually woken up enough to realize I could be in real trouble, so I ran back to the bedroom, grabbed my phone, and ran outside on the phone to the police, who showed up within a few minutes. It turns out the guy was mentally ill, and to this day, neither myself nor the police know how he got in. I was home with my infant twin daughters, who were sound asleep. I was watching TV in the lower level of my tri-level home. On that level, the windows look out to the backyard, and as I got up to go to the kitchen, something caught my attention. What looks like a pale left arm is being subtly illuminated outside in the far right window, maybe 6 inches away from the window. It angled straight down, as if to steady itself. My heart sank. Then I could feel my heartbeat in my neck. I ran up the few stairs to the main floor, grabbed my phone, and returned to see if it was still there. Nope, nothing. I've never been remotely shaken like that, like I was. I called the non-emergency police, and when they arrived, I walked to the backyard with the officers, but didn't find anything. They were great and kept saying calling them was the right thing to do, it's what we're here for, etc. I don't know what it was, but the image is seared into my memory. I had a choking scare when I was 11, and I was home alone and watching TV while eating Skittles. I like to put a bunch in my mouth and make it into like a Skittle ball that I would chew on. Something on the show I was watching made me laugh, and I swallowed the ball, and it got lodged in my throat. I then experienced a few seconds of sheer terror because I realized that there was nobody here to help me at all, and I was probably going to die. Then I remembered some cartoon or something where someone jammed their stomach on a chair and got something unstuck from their throat. So I lunged at the corner of the recliner as hard as I could with my stomach, and it actually worked and popped the small ball out. It was super lucky because I really had no idea what I was doing, but it was one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced. I definitely never ate Skittles that way again after that. My dad dropped me off at home after bringing my sister to a party, and I walked into a CD blaring super loud on our big, old-fashioned speakers. The CD was super hot when I took it out, so it had to have been playing for a long time, but I hadn't heard it going when we left. It turns out my sister had left the CD in, and then, while we were gone, there was a tiny power outage that made the music start again. Kinda silly, but all that was going through my head was, my favorite band is really going to be the soundtrack to my death. Nice. I moved into our house a month before my husband did, and I was painting our guest room with the windows wide open. I was busy painting and listening to music when I realized it had gotten dark outside. I heard the leaves crunching outside, but didn't think anything of it because we have a lot of neighbors who walk their dogs. When I went to close the windows, I saw a man standing in my backyard under the tree, maybe 5 feet from our back door, staring up at me. I fell to the floor and realized The back door was probably open and nothing but the screen, which he could have easily just walked into my house. I crawled to my phone and called my husband, who then called 911 while rushing home to me. We have a 6-foot-tall fence around our yard. This person hopped it to watch me. I couldn't sleep right at night for months. This was when I was a kid home alone. I usually move around a lot while I sleep. I woke up and hadn't moved. I thought it was cool that it would be super easy to make my bed. I grabbed the bedding and moved it back a little before tossing it in place. There was something black sticking out. I tossed the bedding back further. There was a massive black wasp in my bed, an inch from where she was sleeping. Buzzing loudly pissed me off. I put the bedding back on and proceeded to try and crush it until the buzzing stopped. I grew up on a farm, so bugs usually don't bother me, but I checked my bed for weeks after that. I was playing Xbox on my home theater setup, 100-inch projector screen, surround sound, the whole shebang. Mind you, I had the headset on with the game audio, so I turned the volume of the surround sound receiver completely off. Just me, big screen in the dark room. Was thunderstorming outside, me playing some Call of Duty, and next thing you know, everything just goes black and power goes out. That was when I went pale. Well, when the power went out and reset, so did the surround sound receiver. Who would have known at reset it would turn back on at full blast white noise? Pitch black room, surround sound, white noise on full blast, crazy loud. I couldn't process what was happening. I thought I had just been struck by lightning. I'm pretty sure some people pay a lot more than you probably paid for that generic Mucinex to have an experience like losing 3 days. Not that I encourage it, but just saying. I had a really bad sinus infection once. I couldn't clear the system out for a week or more. I decided to try generic Mucinex. I lost 3 days. I came to it standing in the middle of my studio apartment staring at the wall. I could barely remember anything. I just felt like I was a passenger in my body, kind of. I had worked all 3 of those days, piloted public transport, cooked, translated stuff, and used knives. All in this weird fugue state. When I came to, I spent a good hour at 3 in the morning trying to figure out what happened and what caused it. The only thing I had done differently was try to clear up my sinus infection with the medications. I poured those right in the toilet and it never happened again. It was terrifying for me, the pure and utter confusion. Not supernatural or anything, just a timely coincidence. Last October, I found a Ouija board in Goodwill. I brought it home. A few days later, I was home by myself and thought, what the heck? Am I messing around with it? I set it down on the floor, and I'm not even joking when I say this. As soon as I said, "Is there someone here?" the power went out. Like a week later, found out the wind had knocked down a power line. Not gonna lie, I pissed my pants out of fear. I took in a friend's cat that she did not want and that I thought was being mistreated, my first cat. I was living alone for the first time in a very long time, so I was uneasy for about the first year. One night, I heard a horrifying scream and went from sound asleep to standing next to the bed. I have no memory of moving. I jumped up so quickly. It was my cat hollering at another cat walking across the backyard. It scared me to death. When I was 9, I was staying home alone. It was early in the morning. I had just gotten out of the shower and brushed my teeth. I put on my favorite outfit, set up a little area in the living room with my drink and a snack, and turned on the TV to watch. The phone rang. I went across the house to answer. The voice on the other end was familiar and very comforting. He asked about my day so far and made small talk. After about a minute or so, he said, "I like your outfit. Is pink your favorite color?" I replied, "Oh, thank you. No, it isn't." "What were you planning on watching on TV?" It took me a few seconds to understand what was happening, as I was only 9 and very naive. The voice on the other end of the phone changed. It became deep raspy and horrific. The voice then proceeded to describe my awe and murder in graphic detail. I went numb. My skin felt as if it were on fire, and my heart was racing. I had never been more terrified in my entire life. I slammed the phone down and called my mom at work. I tried to explain what had happened, and I'm sure I wasn't making much sense. She got onto me for answering the phone and told me to go back to my day. I remember trying to explain that he was watching me. He told me what I had been doing and what I was wearing. I mentioned that I was going to call 911 because I needed help. That isn't necessary. I'm not coming home. Just don't answer the phone and go watch TV. Hung up. I was confused. I was scared. I could feel eyes on me. I pulled the curtains closed, raced around the house, and was torn between doing what I felt was right and doing what I had been told by my mother. This whole time the phone was ringing. The second it would stop, it would start again. The sound of the phone ringing would pulse through my tiny body like electricity and practically paralyze me. I was frozen and on fire at the same time. I waited for a pause in ringing and called 911. I'm home by myself and I'm 9 and someone is watching me and he's going to kill me. She tried to keep me calm. She told me she would send help. I remember standing there listening to this kind voice trying to help me, but I could feel every horror movie scenario playing out behind me. Was he creeping up behind me with a knife? Was he going to shoot me through a window? Was he going to throw a rock through the glass and open the door? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't feel my body. But I was also overly aware of my skin. In a moment of panic, I set off the alarm at the house and ran outside. I remember the sense of relief, but also this overwhelming feeling of having separation from my home. The house felt small, dark, dangerous, and cold. The outside felt open, safe, and warm. I could hear lawnmowers and birds chirping. It was a beautiful break from the bone-chilling feeling of the phone. It was like I was watching a movie, and I could see myself experiencing both of these environments at the same time. A neighbor was pushing his child in a swing. He was concerned. He let me stand next to him, and he protected me. I could hear the sirens. The blaring sound got louder and then got closer. It felt like it took an eternity, but the police arrived. He walked over to me and asked me what happened. I did my best to explain, but so many of the words, the voice, and on the phone was using was embarrassing. I couldn't bring myself to say such adult words to a police officer. His other words were bone-chilling. I couldn't say those either. I can still hear my mom's young voice, repeating, "He's watching me. He said he's going to kill me." Not long after my mom's car pulled into the driveway, she for some reason decided to come home. She didn't look for me or come speak to me. She calmly got out and walked over to the police officer. I was standing in the doorway from the house to the garage, facing the driveway. I could see my mom, the police officer. I was watching, trying to understand, trying to figure out what was happening. And then I saw it. Her daughter. She was laughing. My face was swollen red from tears. My heart was still racing. My skin was on fire, and my mom was laughing. I slowly crept closer and overheard, "I'm so sorry about this. She just got scared being home alone and overreacted." What is happening? What did I do wrong? Did I imagine this? Was this a dream? Should I not have called 911? Did I overreact? My memory of what happened after that is hazy. I remember refusing to stay home alone. The sound of the phone ringing was ripping through my body. It wasn't something I like discussing. I refuse to repeat what had been said to me by the voice on the phone. My mom decided she knew who did it. She didn't even know the details. There was no investigation, No one was questioned. She told me it was a boy my age who lived across the street. I knew it was impossible, and no matter how much I protested, I was always told it was him. Many years later, after I was an adult with children, we were at Christmas. Everyone was in the living room, and I had gone into the back bedroom to change a diaper. I was walking out of the room and back into the living room. I could hear my mom laughing. Her voice was as if she had been telling a joke. The faces of everyone in the room told a different story: discomfort, anguish, shock, fear. Yet she was still laughing. It felt as if I was walking in slow motion. One of my older children stopped me from entering the living room and sort of pushed me back into the room I just come from. She just told the story of you being home alone and the man threatening to kill you. She told it like it was a joke, like a funny story from your childhood. I never learned who it had really been. I deal with my fear of ringing phones and phone conversations on a daily basis. TL, DR. While I was staying home alone as a child. And interesting, someone was watching me and threatening to R and kill me. My mom, to this day, thinks it's a funny story to tell.